So, apparently, you know when I started like that, it's something crazy.
Yeah.
So D1 was on a podcast, and he said something that he ended up clipping out and putting on his page.
Yeah.
Caused some stir. So let me see. Let me make sure we got this right, because I want y'all to actually hear it. Let me get this right for y'all. All right, we'll do it like this. All right, let's do it like this. I'm going to let y'all hear what he said on the podcast. I'll give some more context around it so y'all can see it.
North Star, and that's the problem, is you got people in hip-hop culture who will say the name God, say the word God, but that's not truly their North Star. You know, they've become their own North Star because they've gotten celebrity status. And they got so many people looking up to them that they've started to say, wow, I am the idol that I look up to and that I worship. We got to ask ourselves who our North Star is.
Why is Christianity, religion, God, structure, why is that taking a back seat to hip-hop? Is it simply because we consume more hip-hop than religious works?
Nah, the Bible done went platinum multiple times. You know what I'm saying? The Bible done went platinum too many times to count. I mean, it's the best-selling book in the whole world. It ain't about that. But the Bible does not make room for ratchetness and righteousness. But black culture does, and hip-hop culture does. It makes room to be ratchet and righteous. There's literally a popular... I saw Christians posting about that stuff. I'm righteous and ratchet. Man, well, forget y'all. We ain't on the same team because I'm real righteous and relevant. You heard me? That's what I am. I'm not righteous and ratchet. Like, what are y'all talking about? But black culture, I'm not pro-black more than I'm pro-God. And I don't care what black people think. You know what I'm saying? Am I black? Am I proud to be black? Yes. But I'm not pro-black more than I'm pro-God, man. Because being pro-black will allow for a bunch of foolish, ratchet behavior that in the name of blackness, we all celebrated. Y'all know that, man. We go to these conferences, man. By day, everybody in the big ballroom or at the auditorium getting financial literacy and this, that, and the third. But by night, everybody getting loaded, drunk, and seeing who they could go smash. You heard me? Come on, man. But that's black culture. That's hip-hop culture. That's hip-hop culture. So that's my thing is like, yo, I'm in the culture, but I ain't of the culture. You know, and people got to know that. So that's the problem is too many people don't have that alternative to say, well, yeah, I'm not of this either. For some people, hip-hop culture is their North Star. That's the top of the totem pole for them. For some people, financial literacy is the top of the totem pole. What about morality? What about your...
So, D1 was on this podcast, what was the name of it? Hardly Initiated. Dope podcast. Listen to the whole thing. Okay. Because I think D1 did a great job breaking down his point of view.
Yeah.
I thought the host asked really good questions. One of the hosts was basically like, so is it wrong for me to listen to Future? Like, I really get a good feeling when he's like, you know... Essentially, the song is basically like, forget them girls, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I feel good when I listen. It makes me feel good when I, win in my life and I hear him say that. It makes me feel good. And he's like, well, and D1 kind of broke down why it feels good to you and all that. So I thought he handled himself very, very well. Apparently, your boy Van Lathan did not agree with that. So.
You don't know, you got to tell who Van Lathan is. If you don't know who Van Lathan is.
Yeah, Van Lathan, he was on, what's the name of that thing? TMZ. He's the one that got into it with Kanye West, and he's like, something about slaves or whatever. And
something about slaves or whatever.
No, I mean, that's essentially what it was. And Van Lathan also has a podcast called Higher Learning. We talked about him when he got in with Manuel Acho. Yeah. Van Lathan said this, being black will allow for a bunch of foolish ratchet behavior is wild. You didn't mean it like this, brother, but it's 100% white supremacist framework with which to work. So here I am a little confused. I was a little confused by that reaction because I thought it was pretty clear what D1 was saying when he said ratchet.
Yeah.
To me, it's clear that what he meant by ratchet is bad behavior, not just things that would be considered black behavior.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Bad behavior that we would consider bad, right? Van Lathan's interjection to me, What is that?
Is this in the I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that this week, and I retweeted it, and I said, y'all pray for D1. Pray for this brother. Pray for the brother D1 because they're going to come after him after this. And as soon as I said that I saw where the crew posted that and saying what Van Lathan said about the whole situation. So I knew it because I think we're in the era right now, and we go back to the Montgomery thing.
Yeah.
We're in that era right now. Yeah. We're in that era of...
And Van Lathan is leading the charge.
Oh, yeah. It's a few leaders of it.
If I will say this, Van Lathan is what D1 is talking about.
Oh, yeah.
He knows his Bible.
Yeah,
he talks about the Bible all the time. He knows it.
Yeah.
He's not like he got it.
Yeah,
Somebody taught him the truth, right?
Yeah.
But he does mix what he knows about the Bible with foolishness.
Yeah, because I remember seeing him on TMZ years ago, and it was I don't know how they got in a conversation about Christianity, and he was like, "Yeah, man, if I mess up, I just pray for forgiveness and keep on going."
There's a misunderstanding there because I think Van Lathan is a smart dude, very, very powerful podcast. He speaks to things very powerfully.
Yeah.
But one thing I disagree with him on is this.
Yeah.
His willingness to mix what God says with what the world says, especially our culture.
Yeah.
What they say is okay. He is down with it.
Oh, yeah, because, here's the thing. You got to look at it from a standpoint, too, is if you don't know the truth, you're seduced by all truths.
Yeah.
With a Z. You know what I'm saying? Not the truth, but all truths. And it's very, together. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you study apologetics, you start seeing that, this religion, don't mind you doing this with this religion or this, or, you know what I mean? So I think we're in that culture right now where the artists mixing everything together, New Age with Christian or New Age with satanic stuff. Well, that satanic stuff is New Age, but just doing all that type of stuff, mixtures of religions.
What I feel like we're at, especially in our culture, hip hop, black culture, is what you always say. We have a bunch of youth group kids that have grown up and they went to college or they got into the world and they started mixing what they learned in youth group with what they learned from their favorite podcaster, their favorite actor, their favorite artist. They just mix it all up and say, okay, I'm still a Christian.
Or call it spiritual.
I'm still spiritual.
Yeah.
But I'm taking a piece of everything I see and I'm saying, if it feels good to me, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
And that's not it. Like it's if you are a Christian, you're supposed to say it's what God says, period.
Yeah.
Now, there are people who are trying to be that just have different interpretations of stuff. That's a different problem.
Yeah.
But there's no excuse for doing stuff that is obviously unbiblical.
Yeah.
But just because hip hop culture or black culture says it's okay, it's cool with me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Some stuff is, when we get into the Lecrae part, some stuff is experience versus behavior. You know what I'm saying? An experience is, I hate to use food, but certain experiences that we have as people is like getting together for a barbecue or something, or like your family, or not your family, but black people in itself is like soul food. Yeah. That's an experience. You know what I'm saying? So they'll be like, yo, that's not the culture or whatever. It's kind of crazy, but kind of like what Lecrae was saying, like the behavior, the part of behavior where it's like you cursing somebody out and you justifying foolishness and being like, justifying it as the culture.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's D1 was saying it is not okay to justify bad behavior in the light of hip hop culture being our God versus what God says. Yeah. I'm always going to be God over black. Period. Yeah. Right? So spoiler alert, you already said it, and you saw a little clip. Lecrae jumped in. Yeah. Because I forgot that he kind of does say I'm ratchet and righteous a lot. He does say it a lot. Yeah. So maybe he took this as an offense. Yeah. Because I don't know who D1 was referring to, but he obviously...
Well, if you go deeper, I'm glad you started where you started versus where he started on his page. When you started on what you just started, you see he's talking about the culture of hip-hop and the that I'm a dope boy, but when I get on stage and win an award, thank God kind of people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, because he said that before on 85 South, where he was talking about don't put God on that, because the devil could bless people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized we were not agreeing on the word ratchet.
Yeah.
We're not all talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
So Lecrae jumped in, and this is what he said.
There's a little online debate about can you be ratchet and righteous? And I thought, what a great time to address this as I'm on my walk through the suburban community taking out my braids, where people probably like, oh, he ratchet, look at him, he ratchet. But that's okay, because that's an aspect of who I am. You know, ratchetness comes from disenfranchised communities. It's a part of the culture that we are raised in. And there's some aspects of it that are redeemable, some aspects we got to let go. Maybe you talk loud in public. Maybe you got a mouth full of gold. Maybe you pat your hair. Those are not sinful qualities or things that you got to let go of. You know, screaming on your kids, cussing people out. Yeah, okay, we gotta let that go. Even God would say, let that go. But, you know, man, embrace, you know, what makes you you. And that's what makes you uniquely you. I wouldn't be rapping if it wasn't for some aspect of a ratchet culture. Hip hop was born in ratchetness, you know, and it's been redeemed. Happy 50th birthday, by the way, hip hop. So I would just say, man, let's not trash the community. Let's not tear down the community for some of the actions that don't fit the broader, you know, society, that they may be a little unorthodox. I'm sure they call Jesus ratchet. You know, he came from Nazareth. They say, oh, this little country dude. But, you know, he didn't shy away from that. He was exactly who he was, and yet he was righteous. And so we embrace the ratchetness, you know, our lowliness, our unorthodox, and we embrace the righteousness growing.
So essentially what he's saying is,
I got more, though.
you got more than what?
I got D1's response.
I know, I got that too.
Oh, on the video.
I got that too.
Yeah, okay. Because they both respond to each other.
Yeah, in the comments.
Okay,
I got that.
You're good at what you do, man. You're good.
So Lecrae is essentially saying ratchet is kind of black culture, like black behaviors and black experiences. So it's like they may call it ratchet,
but it's ghetto. Because I think that we had that conversation too.
They may call it ratchet. I guess they, meaning non-black people, may call it ratchet, but we embrace it as this is part of our culture, and we're not. And you shouldn't put down our culture.
Yeah.
To make some sort of Christian point. That's kind of what it sounded like he was saying. But then I'm like, wait, what? What are we talking about here?
It's two different things.
That's when I flashed back to Van Lathan's comment when he said this is a white supremacist framework. Here's my take on this. I think Van Lathan, his point of view on this is coming from a white supremacist framework. Why are you even caring about what the word ratchet in our context? Maybe I'm just wrong about this. When we talk amongst each other, when we say something that's ratchet, we don't just mean it's low class or we mean it's wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless I'm wrong about that.
No, I mean I think you got two verbs of ratchet. Mm-hmm. You have some stuff where somebody, like he was saying, like somebody walking down, like, oh man, they look ratchet, like their look may look ratchet, or then.
But do we say that about ourselves? That sounds to me like you're interpreting what other people say about us.
Yeah.
I don't care what people say about us, about our individuality as black people.
I think Van Lathan said white supremacy because he said, I'm gonna take God over the culture.
Yeah, but
that's where I think his framework came from. Because if he was just coming, if D1 was like if D1 came from the perspective of Chris Rock, right? I know some people are gonna have a problem when I say what I'm gonna say, but it is what it is. If he came from the perspective of black people versus the N-word, right? That's the difference, because some people could be like, I get what you're saying. I understand that, you know, black people versus, you know what I'm saying? I don't act like such and such them. Now, Van Lathan may have said, like, yo, that's still kind of a white supremacy, but I understand what you're coming from. I understand a little bit more. But for Van Lathan, because I've seen some of his stuff, he's like, that Bible is white supremacy. Like everybody, all these people say.
I
the
get
Bible
what
is
you're
white
saying.
supremacy.
You're attributing to Van Lathan the people who think this is white man's religion.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what he means, because I think Van Lathan and Lecrae are closer together. Because I know Lecrae doesn't think that.
Yeah.
What I think Van Lathan is saying is, it's a different interpretation of the word ratchet. you're taking their interpretation of the word ratchet, meaning patting your head, meaning talking loud in a movie theater, as being ratchet. I don't consider those things ratchet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To me, you're interpreting what their opinion of us and using that to define the word ratchet and saying that's us. Don't talk bad about us. Why are you taking their interpretation of the word ratchet? In our community, don't we call things ratchet that are actually like bad?
I think it's both. That's what I'm saying.
So do you normally go around saying somebody who is doing something that's just black culture, black stuff, and you call it ratchet?
I think the culture says both. That's what I'm saying.
That was new to me.
I think the culture does both. I think the culture be like, homeboy, they just jump homeboy. They just jump somebody. Some girls just jump somebody. Yo, that was
but
mad
that's
ratchet.
actually bad behavior.
Bad, yeah.
Right.
But I'm talking about, do we call things that are not bad behavior, just our personality, ratchet?
I think so. I think some people
Give me
be
an
like
example
that.
of what
I think what he was saying, like patting your head.
we call that ratchet.
I think
You would say that
no,
was ratchet?
I wouldn't say it because I know what the reason why. But I'm just saying, I think some people would see certain things that we see as experiences as ratchet.
I think we
Eating chicken and watermelon to somebody like, man, why y'all eating chicken and watermelon?
You would
like
call that ratchet?
Y'all looking ratchet right now.
You would call that ratchet.
No, I wouldn't call it. But what I'm saying is, some people may say, "Yo, if we was at somewhere and somebody was eating chicken and watermelon and they were killing it and it was dripping off their shirt, they was eating."
You would say that's ratchet.
Somebody be like, "Yo, that's ratchet, bro."
But here's my point. I think anybody who would say that, including Van, is taking their interpretation of us
I see what you're
as
saying.
gospel.
I see what you're saying.
Why are you taking their? It's like you're always constantly thinking
because we had this problem with Jamie.
non-black people, not any. It could be white people, wherever. But it's like you're almost accepting their version of you and constantly trying to fight against it. To me, you are in a white supremacist mindset. Why are you so concerned with what they think?
I'm telling you, Van Lathan's viewpoint from him wasn't that because when D1 says, I put God before my race. For some people, that's white supremacy.
But then what's Lecrae's angle then? Because Lecrae doesn't believe that. Why would he respond to D1 this way?
No, because D1's talking about ratchet. You see what I'm saying?
But
Like that's what I'm saying. But I'm telling you, Van Lathan is coming from a perspective of, yo, you said you put your God before your race. That's white supremacy.
I would bet he's not doing that.
I'm telling you.
I know a lot of people would be doing that. I've heard Van too much.
I'm telling you.
You think Van, if asked the question,
I've seen him on other interviews. He's talked about the Bible and he's saying they use that against our people. I've seen it.
But you think his answer to the question, are you taking God over your race? And you think he would say, I'm taking my race over God.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
I think
this is a fundamental disagreement on what the word ratchet means and whose version of the definition are you accepting as true. Because I have never called something ratchet that wasn't just actual bad behavior.
I see what you mean.
That we accept as just culture.
I would say for you probably haven't. And some other people like you, some other black people like you may haven't. But I think overall, some black people also would say certain things that you're doing, of course, of behavior, and then some stuff that you experience can look ratchet. You know what I'm saying?
To who?
To other black people.
You gotta give me an example, bro. What would be considered ratchet to us that wasn't actually bad behavior?
Maybe it's the way somebody's dressing.
Somebody say wearing a bonnet in the airport.
Yeah, that's ratchet. That's a great example. Thank you. Somebody could be like, "Yo, that's ratchet." And here's the thing: the behavior for that young lady, if we're gonna say a bonnet or a dude, is maybe their hair ain't done and they're on their way somewhere to get their hair done, but they using a.
But would you use the word ratchet or would you say
ghetto?
Ghetto. Are people seeing that as the same word?
I think they see them as the same.
I just never considered that.
Yeah.
To me, even if you didn't feel that way, it was clear that D1 wasn't saying that. In no sense should you have interpreted what D1 was saying as black culture stuff. I'm denouncing those things. Why would he say that in that context of what he was talking about?
I'm telling you what what Van Lathan was thinking, bro.
You just think it's white God, white Jesus.
That's where
white,
he's coming
okay.
from. I'm telling you, that's what it is. He's like, yo, anytime somebody said I've taken God, and you say the God of the Bible over my race, over my sexuality, over my whatever, he comes first. People gonna say that's white supremacy.
So let me read some of the comments. So my sister said ratchet means hot mess, usually negative, right? Damo said ratchet and ghetto are synonyms. So yes, I think it was Alfie that said it, right? I think my wife put a perfect example of what somebody might call ratchet, right? So I think that if you were gonna interpret it that way, that would be a good example for that. But if you listen to what D1 said, why would you think that that's what he was talking about? That's what I'm lost on. Why would you think that?
Because Sean.
Why would Lecrae think that?
Y'all want me to jump out in the deep end? I think because he says I'm ratchet and righteous.
But he had to know that D1 wasn't talking about patting your head. He
I see
knows
what
that
you mean.
D1 was talking about sin.
But I think it comes back to that not old school, but that comes back to like the Christian hip hop of like some Christian hip hop rappers are like so like anti the culture. Like I use my gifts for God, but I'm not with this whole culture stuff. Versus somebody that says the culture could be redeemable.
Yeah,
you know
I don't have to throw away the culture
I don't have to throw away
to be a Christian.
I don't have to throw away my experience. Like he said, the behavior and stuff, I can throw that away, but don't throw away the experience of the culture to be. You know what I'm saying?
So in that context, to me, they're both correct, right? If clearly D1 was not saying this, but if somebody were to say that stuff you need to throw away, when his point was obviously God is more important to me than being black, right? Yeah. Everybody should be saying that.
Yeah. But everybody don't think you should be saying that.
That's ridiculous. So if that's what Van Lathan, he's out of this now. We've dealt with him. Lecrae's point of view is valid if somebody was trying to say that. But nobody was. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So their conversation after that was interesting. So and I think this is where it kind of hones in on we just have different interpretations of stuff. All right. So after Lecrae said what he said, D1 said, "You're reaching, bro. You giving this old suburban, watered down, politically correct definition of what ratchet is. Then you're saying some ratchetness needs to be retained and some let go. Don't forget, I'm from the state where the term was invented. Don't minimize it to taking out your braids, patting your hair." And he said you could call whatever, right? So, all right. That's when I'm like, okay, but D1 and Van are from the same area.
Yeah, they're from Louisiana. They're from Louisiana. Yeah.
So what's going on here?
What do you mean?
He's saying that they invented the word.
Ratchet, yeah.
And D1 is saying it's always meant bad behavior.
Yeah. So, but the culture may have made it.
It's twisted.
It's almost like I kind of agree with Lecrae after reading that part, like about the N-word.
Yeah.
Like it was negative, but we kind of embraced it to our.
All right, so
you know
this is what he's talking about. This is kind of long, so let's bear with me. Cray said, well, perhaps it's watered down if we don't see the term similarly to N-word. Some feel strongly about it, others don't. The common broader definition is how I perceive and think of the word. In 2000s, 2010s, the word became loosely connotative of denoting confidence, defiance, temerity, or fervidity, similar to a female version of the archetype bad boy. When attributed to a person, it is primarily used in street slang and is popular among African-American women. Depending on the context, it may be positive or derogatory. The term gained popularity in 2012 through music artists and celebrities. It has been used in ways similar to the word ghetto. Ratchet can be used as an adjective, noun, or verb. Ghetto doesn't have to be derogatory. If a majority culture doesn't like what appears ghetto, doesn't make it bad. A loud talking, tattooed up, gold mouthed woman is not the same as an ungodly woman. Yes, 100%. That is 100% true. But again, I don't think anybody was saying that. Nobody was saying that. And then D1 responded.
I see. He responded to the response.
Brother, you literally got your ratchet definition from Wikipedia. Man, there are very serious ramifications to what we promote, endorse. If you want to dialogue deeper via phone and blah, blah, blah. All right. So clearly they got a little bit triggered by each other. I think because Lecrae has used ratchet and righteous before, he may have interpreted it as a shot from D1. Lecrae's response probably was interpreted as a shot from by D1. And that conversation clearly just means that we are just looking at that word differently. My 2 cents is the reading of ratchet being what other people think about us, to me, is that white supremacist mindset. I do not care what other people think about us.
Yeah.
At all. What do we think about the word? Some of us say it can be used interchangeably with ghetto or low class, which is what you really mean. Is what you really mean is low class.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody is saying that being low class or low class behaviors are sinful.
Yeah.
I don't think D1 is saying that. I don't think anybody's saying that.
Yeah.
But what I think we all agree on, including Lecrae, including D1, is that hip hop allows for sinfulness and righteousness.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ex-church kids that have grown up and have accepted ungodly behaviors, and they've retained some godly behaviors. That should not be allowed. And I think that's the point that D1 was trying to make. It wasn't that black culture is wrong.
Yeah.
It's that black culture says godliness and sinfulness can coexist.
Yeah.
And that is 100% false.
It's a word for that. What's the word? It's a word for that. Somebody in the comments, there's a word for what you're talking about. I can't remember.
Double-minded man, all that kind of stuff. Duality, all that.
I think, yeah. There's a word for it. But yeah, that's
fresh water, salt water can't come from the same spring. All that. God talks about that throughout the Bible.
Yeah.
Of you cannot mix those two things. You cannot be righteous and sinful.
Yeah.
Or promote sin at the same time. That's D1's point.
Yeah.
Not patting your head and being a Christian.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with your Christianity.
No, I was saying that because the funny part is I'm in Deuteronomy now, and like in the Old Testament, and God was just so forbidden of mixing religion with him.
Yeah.
Like he did not like that at all. So whatever they went, the Israelites were going into the land, if that land's deity was whatever, it's a big statue, get rid of it. Don't bow down to none of that. Y'all can't mix this in. Don't do it at all.
I think it even goes past what I'm saying. I think even your culture bows down at the feet of God.
Yeah.
Even your bonnets and your pat in the head bows down if he says it's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not just whatever God calls sin is wrong.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Those things are not sin. But if he happened to come down and say stop doing it, he rules over all.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So anything that you claim is your culture belongs to God, and he tells you what to do with it.
Yeah.
So you can't decide, oh, well, that's not a sin to me, so I'm just... No, you have to find out what he feels about it.
Yeah.
Period. Whatever it is.
I mean, if you feel about it, I've heard over the years, people saying God has a problem with the hip-hop culture. He doesn't have a problem with rapping, but he has a problem with the hip-hop culture.
Ex-ministry stuff.
Yeah.
So that... But the response is normally defensiveness.
Yeah.
Hip hop is me. I can't let go of that.
Let's be real. Hip hop gives, a lot of us come from places of non-father. No father in your house. Your father is supposed to give you the identity in your house. You know what I'm saying? When you have two parents in your home, your father gives you the identity. He gives you the courage. He speaks those things into your life.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, if you come from a fatherless background and you only have a mother, which she does her great job. She do everything she needs to do. But if the only time you hear a person speak into you is somebody that you think is cool, you think give you courage, tells you how to talk to a woman, tells you how you should dress, that's hip hop. Biggie, Jay,
Method Man,
Nas, everybody. You know what I mean? Like all the way down to Lil Baby, Da Baby, Little Uzi Vert.
Apparently, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Telling kids this is how you how you talk to authority. When another authority figure come on, if they disrespect you, disrespect them back.
This is what success looks like.
This is what success looks like. Yeah. This is how you talk to a girl. If that girl ain't willing to put out for you, kick out. And if she does, kick out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just those weird things that even over the years we talked about. Like back in the day, it's just like certain stuff. Jay-Z was, you know what I mean? If you really think about it, talking to us like, this is what you do. If you want to hustle, this is how you hustle. If you want to get with old girl, this is how you get with old girl.
Yeah.
If you want to, if the cops say, blank the police. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even though those certain experiences, after you've seen that movie, blank the police happened because of how they were getting treated in L.A.
It was a response,
but at the same time, like even if you get stopped by the day, if you respect the police officer, something may good happen or may not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking that hip-hop has taught us some stuff that our fathers was supposed to teach us.
But what I'm saying is, you hold nothing sacred to yourself. Put everything before the Father and say, is this okay or not?
Yeah.
Even if you don't like the answer is what I'm saying. There's nothing that in your culture, your favorites, your idols, the people that you've looked up to your whole life, that should not be under scrutiny by the Bible.
Yeah.
Everything that you call you and your culture and this is just who I am and all that kind of stuff should all be laid, and you should honestly ask yourself, is this okay or not? Not does Lecrae think it's okay, D1 think it's okay, Sean think it's okay. Who cares about it? Put it in front of the Bible and ask God, tell me, is this okay or not? And if it's not okay, it's not, period.
Yeah, God said test it. Put everything against me and test it. And if it, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they used to do back in the day. They used to purify stuff, and if it couldn't destroy it.
I just think a lot of us are we're stuck in our walks on, this is just who I am, this is just how I was raised, this is my culture, this is my this is my that. It should not be an excuse to grow in Christ.
Yeah, I think people don't understand the difference between, but like I said earlier, experience versus behavior. Behavior, if your behavior is against what the Word of God says, if you're a Christian, now, let's paraphrase this. If you're a believer in Jesus Christ and He's your Lord and Savior, then some stuff's gonna have to change for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, period. Like, things are gonna have to change, period. Regardless of your background, where you're from, whatever. If Jesus is the Lord, and for some people, maybe, and the reason why is because He may not be Lord for them. He could just be their Savior. And they need to transition from Savior to Lord. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So at the end of the day, Lecrae's not wrong. Your blackness, the things that make you unique as a black person in our culture are not sinful.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody should be saying that to you. That's 100% true. D1 is not wrong. You cannot mix sin, no matter how popular it was in your culture, no matter what Lil Wayne said. You cannot.
Well, you get it straight for.
You cannot mix sinful behavior and godly behavior and call yourself a Christian.
Yeah.
Can't happen. D1 is right. Van is not right. I don't get
Van,
what
if you want to come up here to the Trackstarz, we're inside of a church. So if you want to come through, if you ever in Atlanta, you can come through. I've seen him on other podcasts or so.
But I commented back to Van. He don't care who I am. But I commented back to Van and I said, you need to bring D1 on Higher Learning.
Yeah.
Because I think D1 will make it very clear what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
I mean, they're from the same place.
I'm telling you, bro, it's not.
I want to hear Van say that out of his own mouth. Because I know D1 is not somebody to back down against. Because even Rachel will push back. And I think Rachel, she says she's a Christian as well. But I do think black and Christian are like fighting with them too. They're like competing for first place. I think we all as a culture need to say, no, nothing in my culture stands above my love for Jesus, period.
Real quick, I think the reason why it's like that for them is because, one, people always use slavery, and then they always use like, what God was at in slavery, where he was at, and then also what's going on now. So for some people, for some African American, for some of us, we don't see God like how we used to see him, where it was like, God's gonna make a way. He's gonna, you know what I'm saying? So much stuff has happened that made people go.
People are
like
frustrated.
Yeah. So when you hear somebody say, "I'm putting God before my race," it sounds oxymoron to somebody that's like, "What? You gonna put the God who the Bible was used?"
I just don't think Van and Rachel would say that.
I don't know about old girl, but I'm telling you, Van. I've seen Van Lathan talk about that.
Maybe, but yeah. So all this doesn't mean that there are not injustices. There are things that we're frustrated by, that black people have been treated completely unfairly, and those things need to be fixed. The same thing Martin Luther King would have said, right? Yeah. But it doesn't mean you give up your belief and your commitment to God to accomplish those things.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to lay any of those down to get the result that we're all looking for. So that's my angle on. Yeah, you want to feel with the Trackstarz, Ryan Wright, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.